last night it rained quite a bit, um, just to show how much water. So this thing, I'm going to have to empty. This one was full. So because I grow in pots, all the water that runs out brings along with it come nutrients. So I end up losing nutrients. So it's not really great. So it's a downfall of planting in pots. But one thing that I end up doing after it rains is I'll come out and I'll empty all the water out of the pots. And then I will put them into my buckets. And then, I'll throw in some other stuff in there as well, like leaves or flowers that have fallen off, stuff like that. And then I will basically ferment it into a tea, I guess. Basically, it's just water to feed my plants over, the next however long. And I'll continue to do this every time it rains. That way, any nutrients that I'm losing are getting put back into the system, into the plants. So I'm trying to keep it a closed loop system. That being said, though, it rained a lot last night. Like so much that I'm not going to be able to not that I'm not going to be able, but I've lost quite a bit of water. If you notice, this pot doesn't have very much. That's because it would have leaked out. This one I emptied already. Those ones over there, you can see, have water in them, but they most likely leaked out because they were overflowing. This pot, for example, it catches some down here. That was full as well, which means that it was probably leaking out, because as soon as I picked it up, it started spilling out of there. That's some water that I've taken just from this container, and in this area as well. There's more water that I've caught. That's why I leave all my barrels outside as well, to catch the rainwater. So that way I'm watering, because I live in the city, I don't want to be watering with chlorinated water too much. So I will use the rainwater as best I can, and I will use the water from the plants, from the pots that leach out, especially since I just fertilized some of these the other day. So yeah, I just wanted to make a little video about that, because I know some people have been, wondering if they should plant in the ground or in pots, and I highly recommend planting in pots, but it is one thing to be worried about. Now, another thing that I'll like to do, because I try to keep my plants, the soil that's in the pots, as organic as possible. So there'll be some worms in there, some there'll be microbial life in there. So unfortunately, when it rains this much, I will look into some of these containers and I'll find worms or centipedes and stuff like that. Unfortunately, most of the time, or a lot of the time, they will have passed away. But if I look underneath these containers, like under here for example, I will find a bunch of worms that come through the cracks and stuff like that. And so then those worms I end up adding into my worm bucket, which is soil that I prepare, for the following season. So I have a worm bucket, and the worms in there just break things down. I'll also add little earwigs and stuff, or not earwigs, centipedes that I find, but they're usually underneath the containers. But like I had said, here's an example of a centipede that didn't make it, unfortunately. It was in the water. I took it out and I hoped that it was potentially going to recover. I don't necessarily think so, but the odd time you will find some that are still alive. So it is nice to try to save as many as I can. And the last thing that I wanted to say, it's not really related to this, but it's kind of cool. See that little feather there? That is a cardinal feather. I know it's cardinal feather because there's a cardinal that keeps coming to this backyard and it's super bright red, which I believe means it is a male cardinal because they need to be super bright and they need to stand out for the females, right? So I believe the male cardinals are really red and the female cardinals are more of like a brown color. And I saw it over here the other day, somewhere around here. So I assume like that little feather must have like fallen off in the area, whatever it was doing. I don't think it's doing anything harmful here. If anything, it's probably helping me out. But there are squirrels that'll come and they'll dig up my plants, the soil in the plants. For example, my sweet potato that I started growing here, this soil got destroyed last night, so I tried to fix it as best I could, but it looks like I'm going to have to mulch it better than this. Yeah, and hope for the best. Oh, also a neat little thing that I did, sorry. I had to take down a whole bunch of the beast because, as you can see on these leaves up there, there's been some powdery mildew. So I don't have lactobacillus to provide for the whole thing. That would be quite a bit, especially since it stretches all the way around here. And finally I got it to about here, and then I was like, you know what? If I take it all the way through here, I'll lose my entrance into my peppers here. So I just decided instead I'll kind of turn it back that way, and it keeps growing out that way now, so I'm just gonna let it kind of go that way for the rest of the season. But there's some nice big ones over there as well, and as I cleaned up all the small ones that I had planted, because I did plant a whole bunch of little tiny ones, which unfortunately they ended up just not doing well, and they started dying much faster, and because they're so small, they were underneath the beast, which I'm assuming led to more powdery mildew that I couldn't see because it was underneath these massive leaves. So there were some in here, so I dug them out, and then I added my kale to these, as well as I had a little tiny ginger that I decided to add to. Oh no, looks like somebody was digging in here last night. I'm assuming that was a squirrel again. So hopefully I'll get that all spread out. But as you can see, other than this leaf right here, these leaves really seemed to perk up last night. They were much smaller and like a tighter bundle. This one, they were close to that, but this one looks much better other than that one leaf. But it seems just after like a day or two, a couple days of being put in there, they already are enjoying the extra space because they were in one of these tiny containers for this long. So yeah, anyways, this is much longer than I wanted it to be. What was the last thing I wanted to show? Oh yeah, as you can see, some of my pepper plants, they're not like, this is green, right? And then some of them are a little more like yellowy green, and the temperature has dropped a bit, but it's about 20, 21, 22 degrees Celsius right now, but at nighttime it's been about 15, 16 or so, maybe even down to 10 at times. So the plants did look like they had stopped producing flowers for a bit, so I did feed them again to make sure that they did have enough nutrients in case they were missing some nutrients to put out flowers, because usually they keep putting out fruit for me here until the frost, which is like either October or November. Since I'm in the city, it's a little later, about November-ish. Hopefully I can go till December this year, but it'll be difficult. But yeah, anyways, see how it's yellow? We're going a little like lime green or whatever, right? It's not lime green, but it's like almost like a yellow compared to green. Well, we're going to hope that we can give it the nutrients that I'm giving it. Hopefully it can help the plants out, give it the whatever nutrients it's lacking, and hopefully they can get some better color, maybe even get a little more flowers. But now I know for next year that I need to feed them more throughout the season. I definitely did not feed them enough. Oh, look at this. This is an example of some new growth. This plant, one of my sweet peppers, had seemed to have stopped growing. It was about here last time, but look at this. That's all new growth, and look at all the flowers on it. So, and look, there's a brand new pepper over there as well. Well, it might be, that pepper might be about a week old or so, but look, you can see on this plant the older leaves. We got the yellow on them, right? And these newer leaves are very green. So yeah, I definitely think I should have fed them a little more often throughout the year. So it's something that I need to keep in mind for next year. But anyways, this is too long.